Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Boss Economics World, the only channel that slices through the economic hogwash dished out by governments and serves you the raw, unfiltered truth about what's really tanking your wallets and your future. I'm your host, the no-nonsense, data-driven, government-skewering economist who's here to break down the latest economic circus from Germany, a story so drenched in incompetence, miscalculation, and political posturing, it's practically a masterclass in how to mismanage an economy into a ditch. Buckle up, folks, because today we're diving into Germany's fiscal revolution, or should I say, fiscal devolution, and exposing how government blunders, not some mythical, external shock, are setting the stage for a European economic meltdown. And oh, we've got the data, the charts, and the receipts to back it up. So, here's the deal, folks. Germany, the so-called economic powerhouse of Europe, has just unveiled a €500 billion, $543 billion, infrastructure fund, paired with a sneaky escape clause to dodge its own constitutional debt brake and splurge on defense spending. The media's calling it a watershed moment, a radical shift to jumpstart the economy, revamp infrastructure, and counter Russian threats while filling the void left by a retreating US. Sounds like a fairy tale, right? German borrowing costs are spiking, the euro's up, and stocks are rallying like it's 1999. Party time in Berlin, with carnival costumes and all, pirates, kings, and clowns, oh my. But hold your applause, because this isn't a victory lap, it's a clown car careening toward a cliff, and guess who's driving? Chancellor-in-waiting Friedrich Merz and his merry band of fiscal misfits. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's zoom out and look at the big picture. Germany's economy has been choking under years of self-inflicted budget restraint, a policy so rigid it's practically economic masochism. And who's to blame? The government, of course. For decades, the CDU/CSU, led by fiscal hawks like Angela Merkel, championed the Black Zero policy, balancing budgets at all costs, even if it meant starving infrastructure, stifling innovation, and leaving the economy brittle as a stale pretzel. The debt brake, enshrined in the Constitution in 2009, capped borrowing at a measly 0.35% of GDP annually, bringing Germany's debt to GDP ratio down to 63% by the end of 2024. Sounds great on paper, right? But here's the kicker, while the government patted itself on the back for fiscal prudence, the real economy was crumbling. Roads and bridges are falling apart, renewable energy projects are stalled, and Germany's competitiveness is eroding faster than a sandcastle in a tsunami. Now, let's zoom in on the man of the hour, Friedrich Merz, the 69-year-old conservative poster boy who's supposed to be Germany's economic savior. Fresh off an election win, Merz decided it was time to ditch the Black Zero dogma and go big, €500 billion big. But here's where the satire writes itself, folks. Merz's grand plan hinges on a constitutional reform requiring a two-thirds majority in parliament, meaning he needs the Greens on board. And how does our boy Merz handle this delicate negotiation? By leaving condescending voicemails, alienating key allies, and treating the Greens like a pesky afterthought while he's busy taking victory laps in Brussels. I mean, come on, Friedrich. You're trying to push through the biggest fiscal overhaul in decades, and you think a voicemail saying, "Don't worry, I'll throw in the word climate somewhere," is going to seal the deal. This guy's negotiating skills are so bad, he'd probably try to haggle at a vending machine and lose. Take Britta Hasselmann, the Green Caucus co-leader, for example. While Merz is playing political hardball, she's out hiking in the Teutoburger forest, posting flower pics on Instagram, and rightfully ignoring his patronizing nonsense. When she finally hears his voicemail, she's so ticked off, she doesn't even relay it to her party's hardliners. Result? The Greens threaten to tank the whole deal, sending financial markets into a tailspin. And Merz? He doubles down, pleading with his own party not to provoke the Greens while simultaneously goading them himself. This is leadership, folks, straight out of a German sitcom. But let's not just pile on Merz, tempting as that is. The real story here is how Germany's government has systematically mismanaged its economy for years, setting the stage for this desperate, last-minute spending spree. The debt brake, hailed as a cornerstone of fiscal responsibility, has been nothing short of an economic straitjacket. According to a 2023 report from the German Institute for Economic Research, DIW, Germany's public infrastructure investment has lagged behind the OECD average by €450 billion over the past decade. Roads are crumbling, bridges are unsafe, and digital infrastructure. Forget it, Germany ranks 33rd out of 35 OECD countries in broadband connectivity, according to the OECD's 2024 Digital Economy Outlook. Meanwhile, the country's vaunted renewable energy transition, the Energiewende, is stalling, with renewable energy's share of electricity generation stuck at 46% in 2023, far short of the 65% target for 2030, per the German Federal Environment Agency. And here's the kicker, folks, while the government was busy balancing budgets, German businesses were screaming for investment. The German Chamber of Commerce and Industry, DIHK, reported in 2024 that 56% of companies cited inadequate infrastructure as a major barrier to growth, up from 45% in 2020. Exports, the lifeblood of Germany's economy, are stagnating, with a measly 0.9% growth in 2023, according to Destatus, the Federal Statistics Office. And don't even get me started on demographics. Germany's working-age population is shrinking by 400,000 people annually, per the Federal Statistical Office, and yet the government has done zilch to boost productivity or innovation. Instead, it's clung to the black zero like a security blanket, leaving the economy vulnerable to shocks like Trump's tariff threats and Russia's saber rattling. Now, let's connect the dots from surface to point, folks. Merz's fumbles are just the latest symptom of a deeper disease, government incompetence. This €500 billion spending plan isn't a bold vision, it's a panic move, a knee-jerk reaction to years of neglect. And the data backs this up. Germany's GDP growth has been anemic, averaging just 0.7% annually from 2019 to 2023, per the World Bank, while the Eurozone as a whole managed 1.2%. The IMF's October 2024 World Economic Outlook predicts Germany will grow by a paltry 0.2% in 2025, the weakest among G7 economies. And here's the cherry on top. The European Central Bank's Financial Stability Review, released in November 2024, warns that rising German borrowing costs, yields on 10-year bonds jumped from 2.1% to 2.8% in the past month, could trigger a broader Eurozone debt crisis, especially with Italy and Spain already teetering on the edge. So, what does this mean for you, the ordinary viewer worried about your financial future, or you, the finance pro trying to navigate this mess? It means Germany's government has dug itself, and Europe, into a hole so deep, even €500 billion might not be enough to climb out. And let's not kid ourselves, this isn't just Germany's problem. The Eurozone's second largest economy, France, is already flirting with a debt crisis, with its debt-to-GDP ratio hitting 112% in 2024, per Eurostat. If Germany's spending spree destabilizes markets further, we could be looking at a full-blown European recession by mid-2025. And guess who'll pay the price? Not Merz, not the Greens, not the Social Democrats, you, the taxpayer, and you, the investor. Now, here's where Boss Economics World does what it does best, call out the absurdity of it all. Merz's plan has been dubbed a fiscal coup d'etat by the far-right AfD, and you know what? They're not entirely wrong, but not for the reasons they think. This isn't a coup against democracy, it's a coup against common sense. Merz is trying to ram this deal through before the new parliament is sworn in, knowing full well he'll lose his two-thirds majority once the AfD and other skeptics gain more seats. And the Greens? They're finally on board, but only after Merz doubled climate funding to €100 billion and enshrined a 2045 climate neutrality target in the constitution. I mean, talk about buying votes with borrowed money. This isn't leadership, it's a fire sale on Germany's future. And let's not forget the Free Democrats, who are calling this left-wing economic policy and warning of a debt spiral. They're right to be worried. Germany's debt-to-GDP ratio could balloon to 80% by 2030 if this spending isn't paired with structural reforms, per a 2024 analysis by the IFO Institute. But here's the irony, folks, the Free Democrats were part of the coalition that upheld the debt brake for years, so they've got zero credibility to lecture anyone on economic reform. This whole debacle is a clown show, with every party playing its part, Merz as the bumbling ringmaster, the Greens as the sanctimonious tightrope walkers, and the Social Democrats as the reluctant acrobats, all while the AfD heckles from the cheap seats. So, what's the takeaway, folks? Germany's economic woes aren't the result of some inevitable global storm, they're the predictable outcome of government mismanagement, from the black zero obsession to Merz's bumbling coalition talks. And the solution isn't just throwing €500 billion at the problem, borrowed money, mind you, that your kids and grandkids will be paying off. The solution is demanding better from your leaders, real structural reforms, smart investments, and a government that doesn't treat fiscal policy like a game of political chicken. For you finance pros out there, keep an eye on those bond yields and Eurozone spreads, because this spending spree could be the spark that ignites a broader crisis. And for you everyday viewers, start asking the tough questions. Why did it take a crisis for Germany to wake up to its infrastructure needs? Why is Merz more interested in Brussels photo ops than building coalitions at home? And most importantly, why do we keep letting governments tank our economies and then act surprised when the bill comes due? That's all for today, folks, but remember, this channel is your weapon against economic nonsense. Like, subscribe, and share this video to spread the word. And as always, keep your eyes on the data, not the drama. Until next time, this is Boss Economics World, signing off.